We know the monarch and the queen butterflies for their vivid orange and deep mahogany wings. These insects are marvels of migration and endurance, yet their day-to-day survival hangs by a remarkably fragile thread. They are entirely dependent on host plants, specific flora where females lay their eggs, and the only food their caterpillars can eat. Without these precise botanical pairings, these iconic butterflies simply cannot reproduce. To understand just how tenuous this relationship is, you have to look at the southern Great Plains and the American Southwest. The chaparral ecosystems and gravelly prairies here are punishingly dry, hot, and unforgiving for delicate insects. Yet scattered in the sandy arroyos and desert scrub is a biological lifeline, Asclepias involucrata, commonly known as dwarf milkweed. This scale comparison shows exactly why you might walk right past it. Even at full maturity, dwarf milkweed maxes out at just 1 foot tall, completely dwarfed by the surrounding sagebrush and pinyon pines. The persistence of these famous butterfly populations in arid environments relies entirely on this easily overlooked, low-to-the-ground perennial. If you want to spot dwarf milkweed in the wild, look closely at the foliage. The leaves are narrow, shaped like lance tips, and edged with tiny white hairs, a feature botanists call white ciliate. Between March and July, the plant produces clusters of small flowers. Unlike the bright pinks and oranges of its cousins, this species blends into the arid landscape with subtle blooms of white, green, and occasionally yellow. This muted appearance actually caused historical headaches for researchers. The German botanist Georg Engelmann originally named it, but failed to publish his findings correctly. American botanist John Torrey officially put the species on the map in 1859. Even today, accurately identifying dwarf milkweed in the field is a tricky exercise in spotting minor differences among similar local plants. Take Eastwood's milkweed, for example. It shares the same habitat, but gives itself away with wider leaves and distinct purple flowers. Swamp milkweed shares a similar vibrant pink and purple color palette, immediately distinguishing it from the pale, narrow-leaved dwarf milkweed. We can see a similar contrast in this botanical illustration. Notice the broad, expansive leaves and striking purple blooms. By late summer, it develops specific fruiting bodies called follicles, like the pointed pod shown in the bottom left of this plate. Knowing these subtle traits separates a vital native host plant from a common weed. In states like Colorado and Oklahoma, where dwarf milkweed is rare, making that distinction protects the foundation of the local food web. The plant needs all the protection it can get, and it actually produces its own internal defense. Dwarf milkweed contains cardiac glycosides, specifically cardenolides. For most animals, ingesting this chemical triggers severe cardiac distress, making the plant highly poisonous. Yet Native American populations learned to navigate this toxicity. Historical records show groups carefully processed the plant into remedies for stomach ailments and toothaches, and even prepared it as a food source. Monarch and queen caterpillars take it a step further. They evolved to actively consume the cardenolides. Instead of dying, they store the cardiac glycosides in their tissues, rendering themselves highly toxic to any bird or predator that tries to eat them. The plant's defenses don't deter everyone. Throughout the spring, bees and wasps rely on its nectar, and according to early 20th century field notes, it serves as a favorite forage crop for local jackrabbits. Toxicity in the wild depends entirely on the consumer. A compound that stops the heart of one animal provides an impenetrable chemical shield and a vital meal for another. With monarch populations facing steep declines, home gardeners are stepping in to help, specifically by cultivating milkweeds in their own backyards. If you want to grow dwarf milkweed, you have to recreate its harsh native environment. It thrives in hardiness zones 6 through 9, requiring full, direct sun and extremely well-drained sandy or peaty soil. But there is a strict rule when planting this species. It must remain within its historical geographic range. As this map shows, dwarf milkweed is naturally confined to the southwest and southern Great Plains. If you plant it outside of this zone, say in the Midwest or the East Coast, the local monarch populations have no evolutionary history with the plant. They may simply fail to recognize it as a host entirely. Worse, the butterflies might attempt to use it. Because dwarf milkweed has a hyperspecific ratio of cardenolides, Non-local caterpillars that try to digest it can be poisoned by the unfamiliar chemical composition. Ecological conservation requires respecting the invisible, hyperspecific chemical and geographic boundaries that hold native ecosystems together.